News coverage of a fire out of Marine Park. A 2-alarm fire ripping multiple homes on East 36th Street. Fire officials say it's the latest to be sparked by e-bikes. News 12 Rob Flax has the details.
It's a fire that took 12 fire engines to put out here in Marine Park Saturday, as neighbors looked on in horror, including those who lost their homes.
It's devastating. Nobody can sleep in there. Nobody can live in there. They're going to put a no vacancy notice.
Now, where I'm standing right now is where residents say that fire started. Take a look at this trash heap behind me, which they say acted as a kindling. The match, the e-bikes that you can see the smoldering remains of in this trash heap.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, today we're going to be talking about specifically of the Venezuelan gangs taking over a New York City apartment. Yeah, that is right. They are taking over an apartment, and it is a huge problem. So what we have here is a few squatters burning down and causing a rid of a nightmare, and then we also have some a landlord that the squatters, or you could say Venezuelan gang, is abusing the squatter system and, you know, kind of just allowing themselves to be in to run havoc. So without further ado, we're going to get directly into this. So the first one we're going to be talking about here is the junkies migrant squatters turned New York City block into a crime-ridden nightmare, starting blaze with stolen e-bikes that torched 2 nearby homes. The worst of the New York City's worlds have collided on one Brooklyn block, where junkie squatters rented out an abandoned home to migrants, where dozens of apparently stolen bikes and scooters sparked an inferno that scorched 2 neighboring homes, the Post has learned. But even the August 17th conflagration couldn't keep the squatters away from the East 36th Street abode in Marine Park. For the next 2 days, people were coming back again and again. A 45-year-old neighbor told the Post, even after the city boarded up the second-floor windows, you poured cement across the first floor's doors and windows. Neighbors estimated around 10 junkies and an unknown number of migrant squatters frequented the dilapidated 2-story, 3-bedroom duplex, which was built in 1925. They are getting into fights with the neighbors and yelling, "This is our house, this is our house," one resident of the block recalled, adding that she called the police each time she saw them in the days following the blaze. The 2-alarm fire, which took 106 firefighters to douse and injured 3 smoke eaters, was sparked by an exploding e-battery about 1:30 p.m. Flames quickly spread to homes on either side, displacing at least 6 people. The abandoned house has believed that otherwise a quiet block since 2011, when an 81-year-old owner, Mortimer Falk, died with no surviving relatives. The Brooklyn Public Administrator is handling the estate and the property. It's just been so many years of trying to get officials to pay attention to this, and no one ever has, the 40-year-old neighbor lamented. The home is valued at $729,000 according to Zillow.com. Calls to the public administrator were not returned. So this is an ongoing problem, guys, and I want to let you know that squatter laws in New York City are god-awful. Now, I do know that they did adjust the New York squatter system a tiny bit. So instead of 1 month, it's 2 months. So this is still not enough time, because usually what ends up happening is that you have to know that there are squatters in your house, or in your vicinity or whatever, and you gotta get that notice. But of course, we all know that courts take forever to start and end. So by the time the court is even done or even started, I have to say that it's already over, right? The squatters are already going to be able to legally be there, so that's the problem. It doesn't matter if you have 1 or 2 months or even 5 months. You got to make it a few years at the least, so that way when you do file these court cases, you have time for the court cases to go through and, evict them, or what have you. But this is the problem here. It takes way too long for this to begin, so the squatters are able to do whatever they see fit. As I reported a story before in New York, a woman was arrested for when squatters were being just allowed in her home, and this was an issue, right? This caused a national stir across the country because New York's squatter system was so bad, and this only happened because New York was facing such massive backlash that they said, well, we have to do something now about this because this is not good. This is making it look very bad on us. And they eventually did do something, but it wasn't no nearer enough. And this is what we have here. Now, this is what the story has to say about some of the situations here of what's going on. So, without further ado, here's the actual full clip of the matter.
News coverage of a fire out of Marine Park. A 2-alarm fire ripping multiple homes on East 36th Street. Fire officials say it's the latest to be sparked by e-bikes. News 12 Rob Flax has the details.
It's a fire that took 12 fire engines to put out here in Marine Park Saturday, as neighbors looked on in horror, including those who lost their homes.
It's devastating. Nobody can sleep in there. Nobody can live in there. They're going to put a no vacancy notice.
Now, where I'm standing right now is where residents say that fire started. Take a look at this trash heap behind me, which they say acted as a kindling. The match, the e-bikes that you can see the smoldering remains of in this trash heap. Residents say they heard a boom and they ran outside, and before they knew it, the fire was spreading everywhere.
It's destroyed. The house, there's no roof. You walk in there, the rain's coming in right now.
Fire officials on the scene say the cause of the fire, an extension cord charging multiple e-bikes. Residents say that home was foreclosed on years ago, with squatters coming in and out.
1638 East 36th Street. People know in the area.
From overdoses to even the SWAT team being called in earlier this year, those who live nearby say it was only a matter of time.
The bank should be responsible for that, all 3 houses.
In Marine Park, Rob Flax, News 12 Brooklyn.
So yeah, that is what's going on there. And it finally happened. I mean, that's just kind of what reality. But we have bigger problems, right? We have a way bigger problem. Now, 4 months ago, we had something like this. Landlord of New York City migrant squatter house claims gun-toting drug dealers scammed him. He now fears for his life. Now, before I get directly into this, guys, I'm just going to go directly into the actual clip of them kind of explaining things. So without further ado, here's this.
In the Bronx, started renting a basement apartment to a woman who was from Ecuador. But then within a matter of 2 weeks, the woman told the landlord, listen, I'm going back. I'm leaving. My brother is gonna take over the apartment. And he said, okay, can you please have your brother fill out the paperwork and include some IDs and send this all to me? That never happened, according to the landlord. In the end, the landlord told me that he believed he was just scammed. They used this woman to get them in there, and once one of them was in there, it became like a clubhouse for 8 or 9 of the most dangerous people the landlord had ever been introduced to. They were selling ketamine, cocaine, marijuana, and handguns out of this basement. These migrants were gang members who had been arrested over and over and over again and were known to multiple agencies.
So this is what I'm talking about. There is a gang, Venezuelan gang, mostly the Trenche Aqua gang, that is taken over this guy's home. Now, again, they did this in a very weird way. So they did this, I would say sneakily is the best way to put it, where they had somebody be like a placeholder, and then the woman leaves, and they were able to take over the apartment, and then they couldn't do anything. And what you guys have been finding out is that these drug dealers, these criminals, these gang members, end up being arrested multiple times, and they're released because of the bail reform laws that are in New York City, or New York in general. So, that being said, they can go commit crimes, do these things, and the bail reform will have these guys be released. And there's just no way in any type of regard to where they can actually do something. So, they're just allowed to commit these crimes whenever they see fit.
In fact, 4 of them were detained in Texas on attempted murder charges. They were set for deportation, and they were re-released into America because of overcrowding in 2 processing centers down in Texas. The landlord, after the migrants were living in this basement, they didn't pay any rent. He started realizing, I'm going to lose this house. So he would lock them out, they would break back in, and he would call the police. And when the police were there, he would be telling them what these guys are doing, and they would be standing there looking at him going like this. He's like telling the cops, look what they're doing. You know what? Everybody knows what this means. And the cops were all like, listen, we can't do anything. They're not doing anything right now, so we can't do anything. So the landlord was terrified because he knew he was at their mercy. He put in a $2,000 camera system on his house, and the leader of this gang, they took out everything. All the cables to all the cameras were removed, just to let him know that no, we're in charge of this location, not you. So the landlord couldn't kick them out. That's how the system works. That's how the laws protect tenants in New York State. Unfortunately, these squatters have rights after 30 days of being there, and they can't just kick them out. You have to go through housing court, at which time they're going to do everything they could possibly do to accommodate and keep these people housed.
Now, I want you guys to understand that this was back in April 4th. About almost 20 days afterwards, they ended up putting out some new laws with squatting, so I want you guys to just know that. So, pretty much what the squatting was, is that it happened in this regard. So, when we talk about it, what was the change law, it was pretty much that the law is now, would seek to expedite a method whereby a property owner, by the mere submission of sworn complaint to a police officer attesting to certain facts, can immediately cause a squatter or other unauthorized person to be evicted from residential property by a police officer without court intervention. And then it would seek to amend the definition of a tenant to exclude squatters, thereby making squatting a criminal offense, reclassifying as a criminal trespassing of the third degree. Additionally, it seeks to extend the time period for a tenancy rights to take effect from 30 days to 45 days of possession. So, again, as I said here, it's even less days, as I said, to where, where they extended the tenancy to the rights. So, that's another problem. I don't think 45 days is nearly enough. So, that is a huge problem. They did change their laws, but I don't think the time is good enough. Like I said, I think it needs to be a few years at the very least for it to go forth, because it takes around 20 months, give or take, for New York to even go through this process. So, again, when we go through stuff like this, we have to go and talk about what is going on with the Venezuelan migrants and stuff like that. And they're still terrorizing things. They're still making this guy a living hell, and I kind of think you guys should go through that a little bit here.
And there was nothing he could do. Every time he had the cops there, they were just saying, okay, well, you're gonna have to go and schedule it through, housing court. And he hired a lawyer. He went to 4 different court hearings, and nothing happened. He said his water bill went from like $200 a month to $1,300 to $1,500 a month. If nobody's paying rent, trust me, that adds up after time. So he was saying, I'm behind on my bills. I could lose my house at any time. Police were called because someone was out in the street with a pistol threatening another person. Cops came. The individual ran back into the house, and they followed him, and they found a cache of weapons and drugs. And they cleared out the house. They took 8 people out of that basement apartment, all of whom were arraigned, and pretty much all of them were released. Because of bail reform, none of them were held onto. ICE actually read about the arrest of these 8 dangerous gang members in the New York Post. The next day, ICE did a raid, and ICE just rolled in and made a second round of arrests. Why are these individuals in this basement acting with impunity? Why are these people who are arrested for attempted murder, arrested for possession of a loaded handgun, arrested multiple times, like time after time after time, why are they all running a drug business out of his basement?
Yeah, so this is not as bad as the 32 armed Venezuelan gang members, where they took over an apartment in Chicago, but this is a little bit differently. Instead, these people are doing it through the squatters' way, and they were able to take an apartment out for months, if not a year, and this is kind of the whole situation that has came down on them. So, this is happening in New York City, and it's probably going to continue happening from other states. So now, what we're going to be having is that we have Colorado, we have Chicago, and then we have New York, all being these places to where they're the ones being attacked right now. They're the ones that have the issue to where they are being attacked by these gang members. And what other states are going to be the next target for this? For apartments. Now, of course, we had California, where they had the buses being almost taken over by the gang members, but they were stopped. But how much longer are we going to deal with this until it ends? Because this is an issue, and this all comes down to what to expect under the Kamala Harris rule if she gets into office. So I think we have to vote accordingly here. Otherwise, we're going to have a much bigger issue with these Venezuelan gangs taking over our apartments and ruining everybody else's lives and having us actually kicked out and having Americans living on the street while the illegal gang members and the illegal immigrants have full control over our apartments, our housing districts, because the Democrats are just going to allow it to happen. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care, my friends.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted. This is algorithmic disease, the social media.